You finally get what you wanted. That job you chased for months, that person you dreamed of dating, that shiny new thing you swore would make you feel complete. And for a brief moment, you do feel it. That rush, that lightness, that fleeting taste of happiness. But then, it fades. The excitement dulls. The satisfaction slips through your fingers like water. And before you even realize it, you're already chasing the next thing. A better version of yourself. A bigger goal. A new reason to keep running. Have you ever stopped and asked, why does this keep happening? Why do we always return to this quiet feeling of emptiness, no matter how much we achieve or collect or improve? One philosopher believed this endless hunger isn't a flaw in you. It's the very nature of existence itself. His name was Arthur Schopenhauer, and his brutal truth might just explain why you, and all of us, are never truly satisfied. Because what he discovered wasn't about happiness. It was about the one force inside you that never sleeps. Arthur Schopenhauer lived in the 1800s, a man who saw the world through brutally honest eyes. While most philosophers of his time were obsessed with logic, morality, or progress, Schopenhauer was obsessed with one haunting question. Why does life hurt so much, even when things go right? He wasn't interested in sugarcoating reality. He wanted to understand why human beings, no matter how advanced or intelligent, never seem to find lasting peace. And what he found would influence some of the greatest minds that came after him. Nietzsche, Freud, even Carl Jung, all of whom built their ideas on the foundation Schopenhauer laid. He believed that beneath all our thoughts, dreams, and ambitions, there's something deeper, a hidden force that drives everything we do, a force that keeps us striving, desiring, reaching, but never resting. He called it the will. And once you understand what this will is, you'll start to see why happiness always slips away the moment you catch it. Schopenhauer didn't believe happiness was impossible. He believed we've been searching for it in the wrong place all along. So what exactly is this will? And how does it control your mind without you even realizing it? Schopenhauer said something radical, something that still shocks people today. Life swings like a pendulum, backward and forward, between pain and boredom. At first that sounds depressing, but look closer, and it's true. Every desire begins with a feeling of lack. You want something because you don't have it. That's pain. Then you chase it. You work, sacrifice, struggle. That's the striving, the illusion of purpose that keeps us going. Then finally, you get it. You win. You arrive. For a brief moment, the pain disappears, and you feel content. But only for a moment, because soon after, a new desire replaces the old one, and the cycle begins again. Schopenhauer saw this as the essence of human life, a never-ending loop of craving and disappointment driven by the will, an invisible force inside you that's always whispering, more, more, more. To him, the will wasn't just human ambition. It was the raw energy of existence itself. Everything, from animals hunting to humans building empires, was just the will trying to survive, reproduce, expand, and continue. And that's the terrifying part. Because if everything is just the will trying to fulfill itself, then happiness, peace, and satisfaction aren't our natural state. They're just temporary pauses between two waves of craving. We don't choose to desire, we are desire. And until we see that, we'll keep mistaking the next achievement for freedom, when it's really just another cage. But if this will is so powerful, is there any way to escape it? Or are we truly doomed to be restless forever? The illusion of fulfillment. Schopenhauer believed the greatest illusion humans live under is the promise of fulfillment. That deep down we all think, once I get there, I'll finally be happy. But the moment we get there, that moment dies. Because satisfaction isn't the end of desire, it's just its pause. And the will, the force of constant craving, awakens again, searching for a new target. That's why so many people who make it celebrities, millionaires, achievers, often feel lost. They reached what they thought was the finish line, only to find another race waiting. Schopenhauer said, "We can do what we want, but we cannot want what we want." You can't control what you desire. The will does that for you. And that's the tragedy. Because we're all puppets of this blind, relentless drive to become something, to fill ourselves with meaning, love, possessions, recognition. Yet none of it ever stills the hunger. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll finally feel content once I..." And then that once came, but the feeling didn't stay. You might have felt a spark of joy, but beneath it, the same dull hum of dissatisfaction returned. That's the illusion Schopenhauer wanted to expose. He wasn't trying to depress you, he was trying to wake you up. Because when you finally see that your desires are never ending, you stop expecting them to save you. And that's where real freedom begins. When you no longer cling to every new goal as your salvation, you begin to experience something rare, a quiet detachment, a stillness that doesn't depend on what you have but on what you've stopped needing. Real-world connection, the modern trap of endless desire. If Schopenhauer were alive today, he'd probably look at our world and say, "You've built an empire for the will." Think about it. Every notification, every ad, every short video, they all whisper the same message. You need more. You're missing something. You scroll through your phone, and suddenly you want a new body, a new lifestyle, a new identity. Not because you chose to, but because the will has hijacked your attention. You're no longer living, you're chasing. Schopenhauer would call this the pain of striving. It's not the pain of having nothing, it's the pain of always needing something. You buy the thing, you get the job, you post the achievement. And for a moment, silence. Then the craving returns, bigger, louder, and in that loop, modern psychology agrees with Schopenhauer. Studies on dopamine show that pleasure isn't in having, it's in wanting. Brain rewards the chase, not the catch. That's why we're trapped in constant dissatisfaction, because satisfaction, biologically and philosophically, was never meant to last. But here's the interesting twist. Schopenhauer didn't say this to make you give up on life. He said it so you could stop being used by it. He wanted you to see the game, to step back and realize, this endless hunger isn't me. It's the will, using me to survive. And once you can see it, you can begin to take your power back. So the question becomes, if satisfaction isn't found in chasing more, where can peace actually be found? Schopenhauer had an answer, and it wasn't what you'd expect. The escape, how to quiet the will. Schopenhauer didn't believe you could destroy the will, but he believed you could silence it. Not through achievement or indulgence, but through understanding and stillness. He said the will loses its power in moments when we forget ourselves, when we stop thinking, "What do I want?" and simply be. He saw two paths to this peace. Path 1. Aesthetic contemplation. Schopenhauer believed that in art, music, and nature, we experience moments where the will falls silent. When you lose yourself in a melody or in the vast beauty of a sunset, for that brief moment, you're no longer desiring, comparing, or wanting. You're just witnessing. That's why beauty feels healing. It lifts you out of the restless self and into pure awareness. Modern psychology calls this flow state, when your mind stops wandering and you merge with what you're doing. Artists, athletes, even monks describe it as freedom from the constant noise of the mind. Path 2. Compassion and selflessness. Schopenhauer believed compassion is another way the will weakens its grip. When you genuinely feel for someone else, your world expands beyond me. The endless hunger to fulfill the self softens into empathy, and for a moment, the will grows quiet. This is why, he said, compassion is the basis of morality, because it's one of the few things that breaks the cycle of ego and desire. In today's world, this might mean meditation, mindfulness, prayer, or even something as simple as doing one thing deeply and slowly, eating without your phone, walking without music, listening without interrupting. Each time you do, you step outside the grip of the will. And in that silence, you experience a glimpse of something Schopenhauer called peace beyond wanting. It's not happiness in the usual sense, not excitement or achievement, but something quieter, deeper, and infinitely more real. But how can we bring this philosophy into our everyday lives, in a world that never stops demanding more? That's what we'll explore next. Real-world application. Living peacefully in a world that never stops wanting. It's one thing to understand Schopenhauer's philosophy, but another to live it, especially today. We live in a world that profits from your dissatisfaction. Every algorithm, every advertisement is designed to keep you craving, comparing, and consuming. So, how do you quiet the will in a world built to awaken it every 5 seconds? Schopenhauer's wisdom gives us a few practical starting points. 1. Recognize the pattern. The first step is awareness. Notice when the will is controlling you, when you're chasing something not out of genuine joy, but out of fear or emptiness. Maybe you open your phone for the 10th time, not because you need to, but because silence feels unbearable. That's the will, whispering, more. Once you see it, you can start to pause instead of obey. 2. Practice stillness. Even 5 minutes of stillness a day weakens the will's grip. Sit quietly. Watch your thoughts come and go, but don't feed them. You'll notice the craving to be somewhere else slowly fades. That's the beginning of peace, not needing to escape the moment you're in. 3. Do one thing deeply. When you cook, cook. When you talk, really talk. When you walk, walk slowly. Every time you give your full attention to a single act, you're breaking the cycle of restless wanting. 4. Turn desire into gratitude. Instead of asking, what's missing, ask, what's already enough? Gratitude transforms desire into awareness. It shifts your focus from chasing more to cherishing what is. And paradoxically, that's when satisfaction finally appears. Not because you found something new, but because you stopped running from what's already here. Schopenhauer never promised an escape from human desire, but he offered something more valuable: the wisdom to stop being enslaved by it. Once you understand that peace isn't found in having everything, but in wanting nothing, you stop playing the endless game. And in that stillness, you finally glimpse the freedom Schopenhauer spent his life trying to describe. But to truly understand the beauty of his message, we need one final metaphor, a way to see his philosophy not as darkness, but as light. Imagine a man chasing his reflection in a calm lake. The harder he runs, the faster the image ripples and disappears. No matter how close he thinks he is, it always moves ahead of him. That's life under the will. The more we chase satisfaction, the more it slips through our fingers. We think the next achievement, the next purchase, or the next relationship will finally fill the void. But the void itself is built into the very fabric of our being. Now imagine him stopping, just standing still, watching the water, breathing, not trying to grab the reflection. And suddenly, the ripples calm. The image steadies, not because he owns it, but because he stopped clinging. Schopenhauer's message is exactly that. True satisfaction isn't in having everything, it's in wanting nothing. Even in a world that constantly pushes us to want more, we can step off the hamster wheel. We can lose ourselves in art, music, or nature. We can show compassion. We can simply be. For brief moments, and sometimes for long ones, we can taste freedom from desire. And in that taste lies a quiet, profound peace, one that chasing alone could never give. Here's the truth you need to carry with you. You're not broken for wanting more. It's how the will works and the invisible force inside all of us driving endless craving. But you can choose to step outside it. You can pause, observe, and find stillness. You can lose yourself in beauty, compassion, and meaningful presence. And in those moments, the relentless chase softens. So today, ask yourself, what if my deepest peace isn't in getting what I want, but in understanding what I already am? If you found this insight valuable, subscribe for more videos exploring the hidden truths of the mind, and let's uncover together what it really means to live free from the endless hunger of desire.